Cheers, mate. You too.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the inaugural Gazzy B 123 podcast. I am joined today by midstakes long-term grinder. Podcast. I am joined today.
That's a great
by
start,
midstakes long-term. I'm joined today because I could hear myself on the Twitch stream. Welcome to Bertie, Bayley, aka Bigstealer. How you doing, buddy?
I'm very well, mate. You can tell it's a high-quality stream because you've got me on, and I'm just like somebody who's only played Cat a year. But yeah, very happy to be here.
We'll get into your cash/MTT background, but glad you're happy to be here. How's your day going so far today?
Well, actually, God, people are going to be bored of me so quickly. But if you aren't from London, you won't know that there's like a massive storm at the moment, and it's ripped down 2 trees next to my house, and also blown one of the doors off the frame.
Oh shit!
So I'm currently just locking myself in my office so that I'm not getting a draft coming through. But apart from that, really, really great. Yeah, brilliant. And my dog's decided to eat his bed right here as well, which is brilliant. Stop it. Okay. Right.
What a fantastic start. What a fantastic start. Nice one. So there's a storm brewing down on you. Okay, cool. What we're going to do is we're going to start out with a quick fire 10-question round so everyone gets to know you. You happy with that?
Thrilled, mate.
Got to answer as quickly as you can. No dilly-dallying. No 30-second answers. So, age.
I'm 33, but 34 in 6 weeks.
Location.
London, southwest London.
Main site/sites that you play on?
In order of volume, probably PokerStars, ACR, and Party Poker.
Favorite site to play on?
Good question.
Gotta be Stars, right?
Maybe, but ACR. I mean, there's just so much, funny stuff that happens. It's entertaining.
So you think ACR is your favorite?
You know what I mean? I get entertainment from playing poker on ACR that I don't get from PokerStars.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is meant to be quick fire. Let's go faster. Favorite site to play on? We've done that one. Relevant screen names, Bigstealer. Anything else that you could release?
I guess most people have seen it because they've. I did stream for a bit, but I'm Tiny Nice Bear on ACR and I'm Yugadal on Party.
Okay.
Do you know what Yugadal means?
No, what is that? Lord of the Rings or something?
It's a very Celtic word. I thought you might know it. It's a type of whiskey, and my dog is called Whiskey, so it's a very tenuous link. But yeah, sorry, quick fire.
Time as a pro. How long have you been a pro for?
12 years.
Are you vaccinated?
Vaccinated.
Who's your poker idol?
Good question. Probably if we're talking OG idol, probably Tom Dwan.
Tom Dwan, same. Best friend in poker? Quick fire, you're not allowed to elaborate. Quick fire. Best friend in poker?
Probably Michael Sklenitschka. He's a tournament player called Small Kind B.
Oh, okay. And favourite pastime away from the table?
Ben Raven. Excuse me?
Favourite pastime away from the tables?
I like to keep fit. It's probably going to piss some people off, but probably CrossFit.
CrossFit, okay. Nice one. I was going to say something to you. Yeah, do you know Ben Badbit? I wanted to sponsor a particular part of the podcast and he refused to do it.
What?
Yeah, he just in case you were shit talking regs and he didn't want his name associated with it. What a terrible friend to both of us he is.
My dog is now trying to eat the window, so that's
really,
really great. Ben Badby is a wonderful bloke, but Jesus, that's awful.
I know. Well, to be fair, I wanted him to sponsor a particular part of the podcast that was going to be kind of controversial, so not to worry. Anyway, getting into the main part of things, background, started as an MTT player, is that right?
Actually, I'm going to call you out there, mate. You've done terrible research. I was a sit-and-go player for years. I was a Supernova Elite for 3 years.
All I know is you weren't a cash player, so just anything else is whatever.
That's correct. I played sit-and-go for 3 years, moved over to MTT when they dismantled... Sorry, my dog is really annoying me.
Take your time. I can entertain the crowd if you want to...
When they dismantled SNE, I went to tournaments and played for a bit. 1 second.
No worries, Bob. Nothing like some dead air on the inaugural podcast, so it's all good.
He's a brilliant. Sorry, you've really been unlucky this time because he's being a little shit just as we started. I was a sit-and-go player. Played 6 max turbos and hypers for want to say 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And then when they dismantled SNE, I became a tournament player for about 3-4 years. Then started integrating cash. I would say somewhere around 2018, 2019, just found it interesting. Wasn't a good player at all, was freestyling massively, and only in the last, I want to say, year and a half have I taken cash reasonably seriously.
Nice.
In fact, like I've not played a tournament in, I don't know. Well, actually, not true. I got free rolled into a couple of tournaments, but I've not put money into a tournament for years. Well, a couple of years, maybe 18 months.
Is that like an Alcoholics Anonymous thing where like you're counting the days since you last played? Is it that sort of thing, or is it just a coincidence?
I just know when I finished, and it was the end of Scoop in 2020. So that would have been May 2020.
Okay.
So I just know, it's very clear to me where I stopped, and it is a bit like a drug, I guess, because MTTs are so adrenaline fueled.
Very much.
But I just don't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy it at all. It's just hate the lack of freedom.
Yeah, I can imagine. Cash obviously gives you a lot more freedom. On to the inevitable question. Biggest score as a tournament player?
I came second in a 1K scoop for about, I think it was 155K.
Yeah. Very nice. What was on top?
Well, we chopped and left 20K to play. So it was 196 and 138 or something, and we chopped and I got 155 and it was 20K to play. And the guy, I mean, I thought I was getting fucking wrecked heads up, but with scoops you get replays, and I just watched it and he was just smashing every board, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes me feel a bit better. But there was one pot where I really was going to 2x pot the river, and I ended up betting 2% of the pot. Because I was typing in the numbers, and he obviously just snapped me off, and I would have got him to fold because it was like fourth pair, and that was like quite a pendulum swinging hand. Yeah. So there was one bit where I hated my life, but
casual 20K mistake there, betting 2% of the pot. We've all been there, obviously, guys and girls,
Yeah.
Okay, hypothetical question: if you had to, if cash was eliminated, would you go back to being a tournament player if that was the only way you could play poker?
Yeah. I work for a company called CNC, and I actually do MTT coaching still. So I'm still in the space, but I just don't play them. So I'm kind of still familiar. I'm rubbed shoulders with a lot of very good tournament players, and I still hopefully I'm absorbing some good information still. But I'm really not. I'm not motivated to play them while I have cash as an option.
Okay.
So that's basically where I'm going with that. The flexibility is the massive motivator for me. So that's what matters.
So, transitioned about 18 months ago, flexibility, obviously freedom of schedule. Any other reasons? For example, cash is more consistent or anything like that? Or was it mainly to do with the schedule?
It's a bit to do with the schedule, but also I found myself as a person becoming extremely toxic towards other regs.
Okay.
I mean, the thing about tournaments is obviously everybody knows there's a lot of variance, but what you tend not to realize is there's just how much variance there is in certain stages of tournaments.
Okay.
So when you played a lot of 1 second. Stop it! Hey, leave it! Sorry, 1 second.
Go ahead, mate. Do your thing. Shout at your dog. I'll entertain the chat while you're away. Shout out to Blackout High Stakes, one of my biggest fans. Welsh Gaz 16 in the mix. Gizman's also in there. Shelley's Ashes. Nice. Welcome to Shelley's Ashes saying, dog is absolutely beautiful, even if it is an annoying bugger. Dog's also opened the door to your messy cupboard there, mate. We could all see it. Look at your nice office now. You're just...
That's a hallway. That's even worse. It's a hallway.
Oh, Jesus! Okay, where were we?
I have good reason for it being messy, but...
That's fine, mate. You keep that for yourself.
So anyway, as I was saying...
As you were saying.
There's a lot of variance in tournaments, but if you played a lot of sit and goes, which typically were 6-player sit and goes, you could see the variance in those single table tournaments. If you're in the final 27 of a tournament, that's 3 tables of 9 or whatever, final 24, 3 tables of 8. There's obviously going to be significantly large amounts of variance there. So if let's just, and I'm just throwing numbers out there, let's just say it takes 2,000 sit and goes to even out your variance, depending on the structure.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can triple that with reasonable accuracy if it's 18 left in a 6 max MTT and quadruple it if it's 3 with 8 players. And then you just aren't going to realize your equity very easily if, let's just say, you get to a lot of spots as the short stack, because you're going to be all in a lot, blah, 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 blah. So there's just a lot of variance which you can't realize. And there are some players who get to the top of the tree who aren't particularly good, in your opinion. And that's what I ended up just basically not working hard enough and becoming very toxic. And I just decided, well, I need to freshen up my mindset. I need to freshen that up by doing something different. And I need to do that in a way where I think I'm going to be rewarded by working very hard quicker. And I thought that cash was a very good route to that. So that's cool. One of the reasons. I was trying to figure out my mindset as well.
It's really awesome to hear that you acknowledge you're being quite toxic. I think there are a lot of poker players out there that are very toxic and don't really acknowledge that. So pretty cool that you could see that was how you were becoming. So onto your cash, been playing for about 18 months. What sort of stakes are you playing?
Well, a lot of 1K and 2K at the moment. 500 doesn't really run at the hours that I start, which is usually in the mornings now.
Okay.
And there is like enough action across the sites, 1K and 2K.
Okay.
But sorry, 1K NL and 2K NL, not playing 1K, 2K blind. But yeah, usually those, and then just mixing in 500 as a filler if it's available and if I need it. So I've been battling some pretty tough lineups this year. Last year I was playing 500 through 1K through 2K in order of volume. So 500 was easily the most prevalent stake I played. This year I think I've probably played less than half the hands at 500 and probably the most hands at 1K.
Okay.
I've honestly just been playing a lot of 300 at 1K and 2K, but I found myself playing Bit Too Easy and Daryl at 2K, and I thought, what the hell is going on here? And as well, but I basically treated it like I was taking a lesson.
Okay.
And it was just frustrating because they just kept showing down fucking great hands. And if I'd have run normal, I'd have lost. But I kept running into it, and I was like, oh, this is getting quite expensive, and just quit. But
Daryl is 464 for those that don't know. High stakes reg, pretty solid crusher, and Bit Too Easy, of course. One of the longest running high stakes regs that's still playing today. Pretty cool though, you're willing to battle. I guess, the time of day that you're playing is you kind of have to battle. Do you ever fancy switching your schedule to a slightly later grind so you can find the fishies, or are you happy?
I mean, fishies turn up. I don't do it just resign to the fact I'm only playing these two fantastic players or three great players.
Yeah.
They do turn up, and I'm pretty sure there are still people who have scripts, so there's a little bit of EV to be gained there, even if you're losing immediate EV. But schedule change, no, not really. I've got, as you can see, I've got a dog who needs to be walked at certain times.
Yeah.
And my real life, I have way more real life friends who live in this part of London than I do poker friends. So try and build my schedule around that. Although that's changing a little bit at the moment because I am sort of breaking up with my girlfriend at the moment, hence the mess there. So I'm not going to be as rigidly dictated to by real life things in the immediate future. But still, I want to shape my life in such a way that I can do things when a lot of my other friends will want to do things.
I'm sorry to hear that, but for any single ladies out there, Bertie is now available, so get your DM.
Your target audience is absolutely rip-roaring full of girls.
Shelley's Ashes is just furiously typing a DM to you right now as we speak. Anyway, coming back to what we were talking about, who's the toughest reg that you play against on a daily basis out with the two that we have already mentioned? Obviously, you must play against some very tough regs. Given your
so, we mentioned three, right? We mentioned 464, O-Spiel, and Bit Too Easy. There's some obviously, I think the jump from 1K to 2K is pretty significant. I don't think the jump from 500 to 1K is particularly significant.
I would agree with that.
But there are some really good 1K regs. I think Dino's been battling quite a lot. I find Dino pretty tough to play.
Yeah.
And Big Blind Bets turns up a lot. Yeah. Every now and then he's really tough. And the iPoker, I find the iPoker fucking impossible to play. I think he's really, really talented. But a lot of the Finns are very tough to play, actually. Just got really good minds for poker.
And you said you think Big Blind Bets is tough to play against, yeah?
Yeah, he's the second best Scottish player I know.
Great, that's great.
Yusuf Ahmed. Yusuf Ahmed's really good.
Yeah, Yusuf Ahmed, of course. Swedish, right?
Polish. Yeah. And of course Jarrett Man when he turns up, but we don't really have the same schedule.
Yeah, for sure. He's obviously on the other side of the world. What was I going to say? Yeah, so the iPoker, I run incredibly well against the iPoker. I stack him about 4 times a day, and I know how difficult he is. And it makes me feel so good about myself that I just ace and V-Kings him 3 times a day. Is there a reg that runs really well against you, like infuriatingly well? Anyone that you can think of that just always have it against you?
There's one who instantly jumps out at me. Oh, there's a couple actually. There's Maxim, what's he called? 7 something, whatever. Absolute joke reg, who like at one point in 500 Zoom took the time to tell me that he makes 10 big blinds per 100 and he's 100 times better than me.
Oh wow!
Which would mean that I was making 0.1 BB per 100. So yeah. And then there's heads up beat, who whatever. Like he runs really really well.
Yeah, tough to play against as well though. Heads up beat, or do you think heads up beat kind of tough to play against? It's up to you if you want to say or pass or whatever. Okay. Next question.
He's obviously not a losing player, but like just not one of the better players.
Okay, that's cool. You can say that if you want to. Heads up, B, I think you're quite tough. Moving on. So we've spoken about your transition to cash. Do you have any goals? I mean, do you want to be playing these 10k, 20k games on GG, or are you kind of happy to grind it out playing 1k through 5k?
Well, I'll take each step as it comes. But I don't know. I'd need to. A lot would need to change for me to be playing those games. I need to deposit money on GG for starters. That would help.
Yeah.
But I'm massively just focusing on my progression. Okay. I try and look at spots where I think I need to work on. And there's a lot of things I need to work on at the moment. A lot of the time, I don't think it's a big thing to admit that a lot of the time you're trying to extrapolate and to an extent freestyle based on other concepts that you're pretty familiar with, and then sometimes you get that really wrong, and if you do get that really wrong, I'm pretty hard on myself, and I like go back to the drawing board, and yeah, I told you that I've been battling a lot of spots, but that doesn't mean I think like, oh shit, well, I've been battling 2k and I made 12k today, right, maybe I'm ready to jump up to 5k. That's not what I'm really thinking at all. I'm thinking, right, okay, how's my progress? Am I objectively playing well? If I run these sims, do I look at this and I'd see that I made like a 3 big blind mistake on the river? Okay, that's a bit of a blunder. Am I just like, oh well, I'm making excuses for that play? And like objectively, you probably should be like doing a bit of both. You should be thinking, right, okay, is that person going to do the betting for me? So should I be checking, or do I need to be blocking here because he's not going to do enough bluffing and stuff like that, and all these sorts of things. And you've got to be pretty reasonable with how you study, not just from a national equilibrium perspective, but also from a reasonably logical, semi-exploitative style.
Of course. Interesting stuff. Let's move on to biggest winning and losing days. Obviously playing relatively high stakes. Must have had a couple of big winning and losing days. Can you think of the top of your head the figures?
So recently or just in life?
In life, mate. I want to hear best and worst, non-crypto, biggest winning and losing days.
Non-crypto. Well, my biggest losing day was when we were playing the PokerMaster app stuff and the China games.
Yeah.
And I lost 64k. That was fucking fantastic.
That is a lot.
And I think crypto tanked that day as well, so I lost something like 75k.
When will it end, mate? When will it end?
I know. Absolutely savage. My biggest... I mean, that was just a horrific day. Like, nothing came close to it. But my biggest winning day was like 35k in cash. Same sort of games. I had an upswing of about 300k straight up in those China games.
Oh, you did?
And then I managed to get myself into bad... I joined a different agent who then put me in bad clubs where there were lots of regs and a fair amount of collusion. And I went on a 200k downswing. Wow. So, like, obviously net 100k, and you're like, oh, well, how could he complain? But it kind of fucked with your head a bit, because it's not like you're just letting that 300k just sit in your bankroll. Exactly. You're taking it out, you're putting it to Bitcoin or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like you're just kind of, and sometimes you're spending the money because you're just like, I'm living like a fucking footballer. This is so easy. So it was a tough one, and it took. I had to quit the China games in about a 190k hole. And just grind MTTs and just end up paying my old agent back. And it was such a relief, because I went on a ridiculous MTT heater. And obviously I didn't really see much of it because I was just giving it to this fucking guy in New Zealand. And he, and then I was like, okay, cool. I just felt so relieved, because honestly, like, when you're in this unregulated environment of playing these Chinese games, you do kind of think of like the worst that could happen. Like, is this guy going to be like Bricktop off Snatch and just come around with a sledgehammer and feed me to the pigs or something? I don't know. So I was just so relieved that I cleared that debt. And yeah, that was such a relief. But like, there were some dark days in all that. Like, one day my horse won the ACR Millie for like 180k, and he was in. I think he was in like an absolute ton of makeup at the time. So I saw like the lion's share of that, and then in a week it was gone.
Oh wow!
And I just felt fucking ruined. And I was playing 3KNL in China in the Chinese games, and it was just like so soul destroying. So I was like, cool, it's turned around. You know, maybe there's like a situation where I'll getting good juju or something. I don't know. And then just gone in a week. And I had a session with Elliot Rowe to really get my head together, because I was like, Elliot, I'm losing my mind here. This is madness. So
sounds very stressful, but it sounds very fun at the same time. That takes me on to my next subsection of questions. So, you know, obviously you've talked about, you know, big losing days, etc. Do you go through spells? I mean, we all do, but in terms of, you know, like long break-even / losing spells, do you go through those yourself?
Yeah. So last year actually was a really good example of this, and you'll see this a bunch if you mix a bunch of stakes. And I think you mainly play 500 and then occasionally flick in some 1k, right? But if you're like mixing stakes, and I play like, I'm fairly liberal with my selection at 1k, and then my selection comes tougher at 2k, and then 3k again on ACR. And then I think I played like 800 hands of 5k last year. So if you don't run very well in those highest games, which are obviously your smallest sample, that can make a massive difference to your year. And my year last year, I broke even in dollars over about a 350k hand stretch, because at high stakes I was getting wrecked, but at 500 I was just kind of continuing like a reasonable, like very close to my EV, and I wasn't getting the showdown, the very difficult showdown situations, like I just, you know, set over set and a 4-bet pot and stuff like that. That just wasn't happening. So I looked like I was breaking even all this time, but then in big blinds, my graph was just like very, very nice. Not that I check my graph all the time, but I looked at the end of the year. And so, of course, if you mix stakes, you're more likely to get into those situations where you break even for a long time or you lose for a long time, because you're so skewed towards the small sample of hands that can happen, and then obviously the key pots within that small sample of hands, like 4-bet pots and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So of course you get break-even stretches, you get losing stretches, and it's tough. I even got people fucking trolling me in the Twitch chat saying that I was a losing player because I'd lost at 1k plus for 30k hands, and I just went, oh shit.
What are these guys talking about? Just a very quick interjection there, guys. If any of you are looking for coaching or coaching for profits, and the coach/coaches have graphs in big blinds, ask them to see the dollar graphs. Coming on to next part. Any advice for anyone that's going through tough downswings and rough stretches, etc.? How do you handle it?
Well, I guess I'll just touch on what I've already said. Just be really objective with your study. Maybe even get in touch with somebody you respect. Ask them if they... Because, like, I mean, I'm going to just throw a name out there, not saying that everyone should get in touch with him, but I'm talking about somebody who clearly shows empathy and is willing to help people, and that would be Jarrett Man, somebody who like does his own free videos on YouTube. I actually, in the middle of my downswing, had a hand against him where he 3-bet small blind versus button. I had ace jack, and I floated ace jack on 10-8-7. He c-bet small, and then he c-bet, I think, small again on a queen, and then the river was a 7, and he checked, and I shoved, and he had queen 10 snap me, and it was at 2k. And I messaged him in another game we were playing. It must have been 500, and I was like, "What do you think of that bluff? Do you think ace jack's too high in my range?" And he said, "I think it's kind," and he replied. He didn't need to reply, and he just went, "I think it's I think it's kind of here nor there. Like, it's probably indifferent." Anyway, I ran the sim, and turned out he's bang on right. It was like a half check, half bluff, and I was just like, "That's really, really nice." So, like, if you respect a player, just don't be afraid to say something. Like, or no, don't say, don't. That's not what I mean. Like, don't be afraid to say something. Flame him. No, don't be afraid to ask people questions who you respect. And you know what? The worst that can happen is they just say no or they don't reply. But a very, very good way to progress, and Ben Raven, Better Bad Beat will testify to this, is by having friends who you respect, who you think are as good as you, maybe better than you, and you can study with, so you can bounce ideas off each other. So, and you can do that in lots of different ways. There's lots of free communities you can join. There's
Absolutely.
obviously this CNC as well, where you pay $200 to be part of the community, and then you can join classes with Stefan DCC Neswick. I think Julian still works with them. I'm not sure, which is JVL Star.
Yeah.
These sorts of resources are everywhere. You've obviously got Bluff the Spot. You've got Upswing Poker.
Best of a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. So there are loads of resources. If you really feel like your wit's end and you can't do it on your own, but if you're like a very, very keen studier and you know your shit, just be objective when you are actually studying and don't just like tilt grind for hours and hours and hours. I've been guilty of that in the past.
Yeah.
Just take breaks. Do 10-minute breaks. Run a sim. Have a look at it. Don't just look at your hand. Try and understand the spot. Yeah.
Excellent. Let's give a couple of shout outs. First of all, as you mentioned, Jarrettman, absolutely fantastic for the community. Gives a lot of free content, free info. For those that don't know, check out Jarrettman on YouTube. A lot of amazing stuff. Secondly, I want to quickly talk about another. Sorry, say that again.
His name isn't Jarrettman on YouTube.
Oh, what is it?
Help Me, I think.
It's what?
I think it's Help Me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
so...
Check out the man himself on YouTube. Absolutely fantastic. Secondly, I want to give a shout out to Ben Raven, aka Ben a Bad Beat, who obviously does a lot of mental game stuff, and I think he gives really good advice in terms of downswings, etc. To take some time away from the tables and have some activities that take your mind off of poker. Is that something you would do as well if you're on a tough stretch?
Yeah, so that's a massive thing for me. That's why, like, when we talked about things I like to do off the felt, and I said CrossFit. My favorite thing I like to do CrossFit, and like, not because a lot of people call it a cult and whatnot. I made a lot of friends from it because obviously what we do is like a very solitary existence if we don't do something else. But also as we mentioned, we can go on long stretches of not making money despite the effort we put in. So having something where you can put a lot of effort in and make relatively linear progress, I think is very important to me. So, and also just from a confidence perspective, if you're just getting fitter and better at something when you're working hard at something, it makes you feel good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something that I would do. That doesn't have to be a fitness thing. It can be anything. Like Ben's really into climbing, so is Ishta. You're into your football and stuff like that as well. So yeah, having something out there where you can really, really enjoy yourself, almost as like a meditative process. Like when we're playing football and we're just like knocking the ball around, you're only focusing on that football and like how to win. That's very, very difficult to achieve for me personally because I'm quite cynical. If I try to meditate, I just sit there and just at the back of my head is going, this is bollocks. But loads of people like can do it. So I respect people who can do that, but I can't. So I need to do something else where I'm forced to focus on the present, and then afterwards I'm like really settled, and then I can get into the rest of my life. Okay. I would encourage people to do something they really enjoy outside of poker, or find something they really enjoy.
Have you ever come close to quitting because of a really bad stretch or that mega losing day? Have you ever thought, what, fuck this, I'll do something else?
There are definitely times where you're like, I just don't need this. But that's maybe a first world problem attitude because thankfully I'm in a fairly comfortable position because I put money to one side. But there are going to be people who are in that position where they have a terrible time, but they don't have the luxury of thinking, right, I just don't need this because you really need this. They have like very few options elsewhere. But yeah, there have definitely been times where I'm just like, oh, fuck, I'm too old for this. I mean, I am in my 30s now, but I sometimes think that wouldn't it be nice just to be having a simpler life?
Yeah,
but
like an electrician or something. Yeah.
But then I remember just all the great things that poker gives me.
Very true, very true. What would you do if you weren't a professional poker player?
Ooh, good question. I have a master's, so presumably I'd see what that could get me. But I guess that I've been told that I could probably break into financial stuff.
Okay.
Based on my history with probabilities, and also I was listening to the Doug Polk podcast, and he had a friend on who is just a trade. I think he's a trader now, not in crypto, but he said one of the things that makes poker players really, really good traders is not necessarily the fact they've worked with probabilities and like calculated gambles. It's just that they know how to lose.
Okay.
And I thought that was really, really interesting because you have all these guys who come out of Harvard and Oxford and Cambridge who are just like so mathematically savvy, but then like when things don't go their way, which just happens, they fucking lose it. Whereas we're just like, like the other day I had a minus 11k day, and I was just like, I genuinely didn't give a shit. I was like, reviewed some hands, looked at the biggest pots where genuinely like most of the 11k came from, and I was like, yeah, genuinely I've lost like, because I played 5k that day, genuinely I've lost like 2.5 buy-ins, and it really could have been plus 4 or 5k if it had gone the other way or something like that. Sorry, 4 or 5 buy-ins. So and also like earlier in the year I managed to play heads up against this American fish, this guy called Runaway Antelope, who by the way has the most insane results this year, but he genuinely is special. He's up like 200k this year playing heads up against regs. It's amazing.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. I managed to. He wanted to play me for a while, and I told you about this on Instagram, right?
You did. You told me about it.
Yeah. And at one point, I was down 15k, ended up like up 4k, and then I played him again, and he took 10k off me. But like those situations, like, and it's obviously not many buy-ins, so it's whatever. But my bankroll management meant that I couldn't lose too much to him. But you have all of these. You have all of these silly. Clancy's just said you
just see that. That's a thin brag from Clancy that he plays 5k heads up as well. But anyway, continue.
No, but the thing is, he goes down. Runaway Antelope goes down to lower stakes to challenge regs to play high stakes.
Really? But take them out of their comfort zone.
I wasn't sitting 5k. I was sitting 2k or something. And he goes, anyone want to play heads up? And I was like, yep, me.
100%. Yep.
But yeah, so like again, this is very much going back to what I was saying. You mix stakes, and the smaller sample of the biggest stakes was like is mental. It really does affect your year. Clancy said he was opening 5x, 4x, and 3x and limping. I never got the 5 and the 4x. I only got the 3x and the 2x, which were quite correlated to the strength of his hand.
Sharapper says the old reverse bum hunt. Have you ever seen that thread on 2+2 where the reg like plays like a whale at 25 NL and he takes this other reg all the way up to 600 NL? It just takes all his money. I'll need to find it for you. It's one of the best things you'll ever read with regards to online poker. Speaking of which, coin poker. Have you seen these high stakes PLO games that have been running?
I saw some screenshots. So I follow Patrick Leonard on Instagram, and I was wondering where the hell these games were from, but wasn't Omaha for Rolls just absolutely tearing up?
Yeah, as you would expect.
Yeah, that's thing. Well, the thing is, he is obviously like really, 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 really good at Omaha, and he does very well in tournaments. But I've heard could be one of those who perhaps exceeds his expectation.
Okay.
But I used to play him a lot in $100 spins in the Supernova Elite era.
Right.
And yeah, he was tough to play because he just mashes buttons and he's never folds.
Okay.
And that's pretty important when you're playing heads up a lot, which we do in spins. But yeah, it's astonishing that we genuinely were playing the same games, and now he's sitting there with $10 million on the table or whatever.
Where did it go wrong for Bigstealer?
Yeah, I know. And here I am just like playing really, really good Russian guys at 1k.
Fucking talking to Gazzy me as well.
Mate, this is the start of something great for you.
I hope so. For both of us. Coming back to what we were talking about, solvers, mixed opinions from people. Do you think they're the be-all and end-all when it comes to studying, or do you think people can get away without using solvers and what's like run at once and upswing and stuff like that?
So, I think technically you can get away without using solvers, and I think but the way that you could do it really effectively is there's two ways. Either have friends who use solvers and just ask them questions.
I did that for about 3 years,
Which is, or you do mass data analysis, and then you basically just understand the game well enough to be like, right, I can just push these hotspots.
Okay.
So I think that it is possible, but I think it's a very, very fucking good idea to use solvers. I think it would be borderline arrogant, arrogant to the extent that it would be stupid.
Okay.
To just disregard them. I think you should, if you're not planning to use a strategy which is solver based, at least acknowledge their use and see where the line is so that you can make your adjustments.
Quick question from the chat. Shout out to Blackout High Stakes, aka Lewis Spencer, who once peed on the Hippodrome. Shout out to Bertie. How relevant do you think MDA is for non-anon pools? I don't even know what that means, so I'm just going to let you answer that.
So he means how much do you reckon mass data analysis is relevant for games like 500 Zoom, I
Right,
presume,
okay.
because they have screen names. I think it is really relevant, and the example I would use is say to Benny. He makes a lot of money from 500 Zoom.
Mhm.
Like I think he regularly clears 6 figures a year
One
playing
of the
500
biggest
Zoom.
winners, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, but then Shelley Ashes says something says something very relevant, and then which is it definitely creates a glass ceiling.
Oh, really?
A player like that who not necessarily, even if he knows he's pushing these hotspots, he might find it very, very difficult to revert to a closer to optimal strategy when he plays against some significantly better players.
Okay.
Especially 3 and 400. So yeah, I mean, you can make a very, very good living by being really, really. I'm pretty sure that there's a BitB Finnish guy who used to be working with, say, Benny, who then joined BitB and then strayed away from that. I don't really know how he's done since then, but Donald was telling me how they just on their fingertips they just had such amazing knowledge of what people do.
Wow.
And that's really impressive. Like to have the motivation and you know the know-how to just say no, fuck you just don't have it, or fuck you always have it.
It's kind of an advantage, yeah.
Yeah,
very much so. Okay, so coming back to the study questions, what about for people who are just getting into poker or they've been playing for a few months, and I feel like there are certain people where solvers would be really overwhelming for them. Do you have any study advice for people who would be in that category?
Well, there's a lot of free content.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lads who are posting a lot of stuff on YouTube, and you have to be quite careful who you follow because there's a lot of wishy-washy stuff as well. But I don't know. I don't want to point people to specific channels, but there are a lot of people on. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube where people do play and explain. So you could look at that and see if you like what you hear.
Uh-huh.
If you hear good reason, then that makes sense. And then let's just say you are able to get a free trial with Odin or something like that, and you see that some of it checks out with the logic, then that could be really, really useful. So that's. Yeah, and somebody's mentioned that I have a bundle.
Go on, sell yourself, do your thing. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I don't work there anymore, but I still get the money from it. So you can, guys, buy my bundle. It's fucking awesome.
Buy a bundle. That's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, as I mentioned, actually, there's a lot of low cost content out there. So. Just do your research. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to. I'm going to say the BBZ stuff because I used to work there, but that's a free Discord. You can join that. I'm sure there are other free Discords. Does Upswing have a free Discord?
No, we have a Facebook page, no Discord. Stuck in the Stone Age.
But the same kind of vibe, right? You still have a lot of people talking.
Absolutely.
Just ask your questions there, and then you're going to get some garbage answers. But you're also going to get some helpful answers. Up to you to decipher the good from the bad. And you know what? If you can't decipher it, and even by trial and error, then it might not be the game for you. Mm-hmm. Somebody just asked, "Is it better than Ginger's bundle?" Impossible to beat that.
Let's keep it friendly, boys and girls. What else have we got? What about your own play to study ratio? I mean, you like half and half. You more play than study.
Definitely more play. Mm-hmm. It's also mood related as well. Like sometimes I don't think it's particularly something to be ashamed of to say that sometimes I don't feel like studying.
Yeah.
I think if I went into a study session being like I just can't be fucked and then just like grind it out 2 hours staring at a sim, I would get so little out of it wouldn't be worth it. Mm-hmm. Whereas like if I'm really, really motivated to study, but also there are some good games out there, then I should probably focus on studying because I'm really not that arsed about playing.
Yeah.
So I think like you have to listen to yourself, you have to be pretty reasonable with yourself and also understand yourself. Now, obviously I have a bit of an advantage because as we mentioned earlier, I've been playing for 12 years, but knowing yourself, even if you haven't been playing that long, you probably understand a bit about yourself, just generally speaking from living your life. You can extrapolate from other situations. Let's just say you've been putting yourself in situations where you are taking a risk where you're not entirely sure the answer. You can probably say, right, okay, if I was to play this poker game now, how would I approach all these spots, and if you don't know the answer, but you do know that if you study, you would have a better idea of it, then you're going to make that you're kind of answering your own question. You're like, okay, right, I probably should study. And you know what? I think I want to study because I want to know the answer. If you're that kind of person, I'm somebody who really struggles with dealing with uncertainty. I'm quite a risk-averse person. Okay. So that's why I have crypto, but that's why I don't invest too heavily in crypto. I'm quite a nit when it comes to that investment. So yeah, all of these, I would just say you've got to listen to yourself. You've got to be objective with how you feel. Somebody asked how old I am. I'm 33.
We did that at the start, guys. If we were here from the start, you would have seen it. Let's take some questions from the chat then, see what else we can see. Can you talk more about MDA? What is it and how it's done? Advantages and disadvantages? Don't need to go into it too much, obviously, if you don't want to, but just a little bit of a background as to how these guys get so much analysis done.
So a lot of the best, it's quite a controversial way to study because it means that you either have to have played fucking heaps or you've got to obtain hands in a way where you haven't played heaps, and buying hands is sort of frowned upon. So I would say, one of my friends does it in tournaments, but they work in a stable, a Brazilian stable, and they basically, I don't know if this really is common knowledge, but they collaborate a lot of their horses' hands, and then they produce data of their of how to exploit the field. But that is done to the extreme because a lot of the guys that they in that stable are playing from $5 up to $55 buy-in, obviously low to mid stakes.
Yeah,
and it's obviously way more important to exploit at those stakes as opposed to playing 215 plus where you're playing against the best players in the world. Somebody's still got a hairline of a mid-20s.
Shelly's Ashes,
obviously. Great.
Bold. Okay, let's come back to this. What about live poker? Are you a live poker buff?
I find, so from the outside looking in, I do enjoy watching live poker, actually. I think it's really, really interesting. But playing it, I start really, really into it. Yeah. And then I slowly want to rip my eyes out because it's so slow. But that said, I have done a fair amount of study on live reads and whatnot, and I think it's really, really interesting. Okay. Live poker, when you're running well, is as fun as anything in poker.
Sure, yeah. It's a great feeling.
Poker when it's card dead is as bad as anything. So it really does like drag you through the extremes of your job. Mm-hmm. But I started off live poker with a fairly reasonable heater. I've hit quite a few final tables, and we could be sitting here in front of you could be sitting here talking to a very smug live player right now if it had gone well early. Not really well early, but it was a nice start. I ended up coming third in some 2K where I play, and it was a small field, but I was playing three-handed with Linus. Oh god! Ironically, and this was just before Linus. I think he was just shot taking 5K. Okay. So he was established as a 2K reg. He won the event, by the way, and that actually gave him a bit of a shot to his bankroll, and he moved up to 5K permanently about like a month later. So it was pretty sick.
So can I just stop you there? What you're saying is you helped Linus on his way. Is that what you're trying to tell us? If it wasn't for you, he wouldn't be the player he is today.
I think in a way, I think he knows that. So yeah. But yeah, he was. Yeah, it was just such an eye opener about how shit I was. I really, really did think I was much better than I was. Now, probably ICM wise. So ICM wise, Linus was a fucking disaster. I remember he 3-bet, 5-bet me with 8s when I was second stack, he was third stack, and the rest of the table there were 3 people under 10 big blinds, and he 3-bet, 5-bet me with 8s from under the gun +1. I was under the gun, 4-bet him. I had ace jack offsuit, and he just went and shoved in 8s, and I was like, nice hand. And he turned over. I think he turned over 8s, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?" But anyway, like he was obviously there just to win because he was just playing some 2K. I think Frank had goaded him into coming to London to play, and like he went ahead and won. Sure, but yeah, but in terms of just his ability, his understanding of the game, it was just like such an eye opener. It was like I don't. Sounds like I'm sucking him off here, but like I was just like, it was such an honor to play with him.
Oh my god! Right in your chin, mate. Fucking
I
hell.
know, right? Yeah, I could feel his balls on my chin right now. But yeah, it was mad. It was mad. Sorry. Would you rather permanently have to wear a gin-inspired cowboy hat or reset your net worth to minus 1 million?
Go with the hat, right?
Yeah, I'd wear the hat. Yeah,
We all secretly want to wear the hat anyway, so
yeah. I don't have a problem with Ginge at all. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I love him. Lovely guy. I am not here to fire shots at Ginge Poker for those of us that are trying to get us to do it.
I mean, yeah, clearly, like,
they're trying to make you say mean things. Yeah, try to make him say mean things about Charlie Carroll. I'm sure he'll do that.
Yeah, we'll do that later. That's fine.
Just kidding, obviously.
Thoughts on why the average poker player has a bloated ego with delusional views about their intelligence? Shippy. I believe that's Sexy Beaver. I think there is... Well, I think a lot of people try and make excuses for not being at the top. And people will presume that... People will presume... Blackout HS just said, Shippy's on a downswing. That could be why he asked that question, I don't know. But yeah, I think a lot of people are inherently not quite able to work hard enough or don't quite have the capacity to make it to the top, so they look for other reasons. Now, this is definitely something that I did in tournaments and something that I'm definitely guilty of in cash. I sometimes just don't have the motivation where I know someone like Daryl or Marcus, being Make Boy Finn, or George or whoever's really, really good. They will probably just find that wherewithal to study, and I know that I don't quite have that. So I tend to, if I'm looking at like how things aren't, if they aren't going brilliantly, or if I'm not achieving a certain win rate, I'll be like, well, if you're completely honest here, you work hard, but you don't work as hard as the people who are right at the top.
Okay.
I think it's one of my strengths that I acknowledge that.
And you think certain poker players are a little bit deluded with that, and they're not really honest with themselves?
I think that's fairly reasonable. I mean, and that, I mean, I can't speak for a lot of the players I play against, but because I don't know them in person. But there are definitely the players I play against a lot, especially at 1K and 500. They're making car crash misunderstandings in a bunch of situations.
Pocket sevens on 10 Queen King Ace.
Sorry? Yeah. Car crash misunderstanding in some situations.
Let's skim over that one. Keep going.
Yeah, we'll leave that one alone. And if they are the kind of people who still believe that they are really, really good, and by the way, I make bad decisions. Like sometimes that happens. Like I'm not shying away from that.
Okay.
I hope that I'm also I'm able to objectively say, listen, like I'm not up there with some of these guys who probably believe they should be up there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just hope that helps answer, but I could be wrong. This is my guess as to why I think a lot of people have a slightly inflated opinion of themselves.
Very interesting stuff. A lot of people asking for rankings of certain players, etc. Are you willing to give us a 500 Zoom power rankings, not including any of the players that are on this call right now, obviously?
All right. So Jarrettman, yeah, he's a pretty good candidate. My poker has been playing some 500 recently. The funny thing is about 500 regs is if they were really, really good, they tend to move up for a while. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're talking about just net dollars won, say to Benny is one of the better ones. Chips and Chris is like somebody who's been around a while. I think Tim Kenyon and him are good players. They haven't seemed to move up yet, but I'm sure they will.
What we're going to do is I'm going to run through the 500 Zoom regs right now, and you're going to say hot or not, okay? You ready?
God. This is going to be good.
Captain Stupid. Hot or not?
Well, he lives up to his name.
CG87.
I think I kind of like his approach.
Okay.
So I think he's good.
There's a fish there called Blackout HS. Have you played with Blackout HS much?
He's fucking disastrous, that guy.
Why is he playing Zoom and watching the podcast? He should be focusing on the podcast. Interesting about this one, Dr. Luck. Hot or not?
So yeah, I mean, I used to find him unbelievably difficult to play. I used to really watch his run at once videos, and then he's come back and he's doing some weird shit. Like I had a spot where it was a 4-bet pot hijack versus or cutoff versus big blind, and I was the 4-better, and he just led 10-3 deuce.
Oh, interesting.
Two spades. He had king 10 of spades as well. It's like the weirdest hand to lead.
Top pair, got to lead, got to protect. See where you're at.
Yeah, top pair with a flush draw.
Heads up beat, hot or not? Love the honesty. Who else have we got here? K-Docs?
I like his style.
Yeah.
I've actually done some not one-on-one coaching with him, but I've done some seminars, and he's been in there, and I like how he talks. He doesn't shy away from spots. I think he's fun. I think he enjoys poker.
Okay. Sanctity, hot or not?
I think he's improved a shitload, actually. I used to have him as like top 5 worst reg, but now I actually think he's quite good. Yeah, I think he's
Service poker or service X even?
I can't make my mind up. I'll give him a 6 out of 10.
Well, that's reasonable. Pretty good.
That's what I mean. Like, I don't think he's bad, but like he does some stuff which is like really good. But then like mixed in, there's just the capacity for something really weird. He plays quite high as well, though. He's not. Is he at a 500 Zoom? Is he playing right now?
Plays up to 2K. I was playing with him last night. He was trying to get me to play a 2K table on Stars.
And did he succeed?
No, absolutely not. I've taken my money off the Stars out of principle, but another story for another day. Teenage Turtle? Not sure.
Not sure.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's fine. I mean, basically, you're asking me to say when.
Must be say hot or not?
I mean, none of these guys are losing players, right? They're presumably taking some money off the table.
Yeah.
So, like, are you asking me to say 0.5 BB winner is just a fucking idiot?
To just give your opinion. It's up to you what you want to say. 2 more for you. Wild Bill lives up to his name.
Yeah, fair. He's 200. He's a 200 reg there, right?
He's playing a lot of 500 as well. Last one. Really curious for your thoughts on this, Zelik. Really? Wow.
Oh, he's awful. Actually awful. Like, just so bad. Like, genuinely terrible.
So lovely to me in the chat. Like, we chat away to each other at 4 a.m.
Well, that is. He's fucking grooming you. He wants you to play higher.
Zelik, I'm sorry, buddy. I think you're lovely. Don't listen to our mean friend Bertie here. Who else have we got? My Poker F.
Now, people used to accuse him of being a bot in satellites and tournaments.
Really?
But I've not played enough with him in cash. He does weird shit though. He does weird shit.
Björg Fanboy, who got in touch, I think via Instagram, to say that he was excited about the podcast, is asking for your party poker player analysis. And before you start, I just want to say the Gazzy B123 on party poker, guys, that's not me. Okay.
Yeah, I know that because he was the biggest whiner ever, and he was trash. He was so trash. But also,
so
like,
nice when he was trash, and then you knew that wasn't me. Thanks for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Also, I know you're not a whiner in the chat. You might whine somewhere else, but you don't whine in the chat. There's a lot of new names though that I wouldn't be able to say off the top of my head. Okay. So, like when I used to grind the leaderboards, there were a lot of players who I found like annoying to play against. So like it's tricky, and it's my lowest volume. So I couldn't really say, to be honest. Martin's in the chat. Martin C, I used to play against him a bunch. Yeah, obviously he's pretty tough. And then I used to find it really, really difficult to play against Lloyd Christmas, and that was Magorko, and I don't know who he is now on Party.
Okay. But
he got banned, I think, and now he's back again. But having played against him more, because he didn't play Stars for ages, and I find it so hard, so hard to play against people who I know are doing weird shit, but I didn't have a HUD. And then I'd play against these guys with HUDs, and I'd be like, oh, okay, right. And obviously this is like almost pointing to me being like not particularly good without numbers. But it made such a difference, because I would play against Lotto, my motto, for ages, who somebody just pointed out is hard to kill, which is correct. Lloyd Christmas is not hard to kill. Sorry, someone's saying that. Hard to kill is Lotto, my motto.
Lloyd Christmas as Magorko, right?
Then when I played a few hands against them on Stars and I saw their stats, I was just like, oh my god, wow, I've just been punting by not doing this, this, and this, and it's funny. It's just
pretty awesome.
So when you're right back grinding on Party where you see no stats and all you see is occasional showdowns, and also you're playing lots of tables, so you can't really always absorb these showdowns. It was quite tricky. Really, really fucked my mind. Actually, I didn't enjoy that.
That's not ideal. We've been asked for some rankings on Chips and Chris, who we've said is very tough. Ben a bad beat, obviously a friend of ours. Feel free to big him up if you want to.
Yeah, he's obviously a very good player.
Obviously fantastic. And Dex888, High Stakes Dragon Stars.
He used to play in tournaments as well. I played him 500 so much, and he's just gone and flown up playing 10k like it's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect him. I think he's obviously but apparently he's got some extremely minor leaks according to a couple of high stakes guys. But he's obviously a very, very tough player. He's definitely one of the tougher 500 regs when I played against him, and he just climbed the stakes. I'm really pleased for him. I think it's really it's quite inspirational because somebody who used to play tournaments, used to play 500, now at the highest stakes, doing really, really well, and I think that's awesome. So cool.
What about Topcat 5757?
Yeah, I mean, now you're listing some of the best players in the world. I think he's really, really good. He has a really, I would say, God, this sounds so stupid because I'm some guy who plays 1K. But so what I've noticed from him is, and this is going to be Topcat. If you're watching, make sure you hard exploit me when I'm playing you. Not going to happen. But something I noticed is if there is a very close decision between being aggressive and taking a passive route, it seems like he takes the more passive route. But this is obviously in really, really minuscule EV different situations. I kind of had a bit of a read on him when he played 500 that he would do this, but then he would just kind of balance it extremely well. He's just a very, very, very good poker player. And he just seems like a really, really cool streamer as well. When I've seen him stream, he just seems like just quite a cool guy. And you kind of I liked how he operates, just gets it done.
Topcat is, his real name is he Cole Swanick? Yeah, Cole Swanick. Yeah. I've seen his streams a couple of times. He seems like a very chill guy. Bit of fire and steel about him, but very, very chill guy.
He had this funny tick when he first started streaming where he had to do this. He kept doing this with his top.
Really?
And I was just is he nervous? Is he nervous about streaming while he's there just with 100k sitting on the table? It was just weird. But then he got used to streaming, and he's a gangster. I like watching his streams when he does it.
Any plans to stream yourself again anytime soon? Obviously, you're doing it on behalf of BBZ. Is it done now, or are you going to go back to it?
I have no itch for it at all.
Really?
When I first started streaming, it's weird because I definitely care about playing well, but also I have no real worries about what people think. If I'm straying, and I know I'm straying, I don't care if it looks stupid on the 500 Zoom replay or anything. I don't care. Or if somebody's railing a 1K table. But when I'm streaming, I definitely care. And I remember the first couple of streams I did, I won, and it's weird because it feels amazing when you win on stream.
It's great.
You can relate to that. You're like, oh, that's great. That was so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And then to top it off, you might do a quick review, run a couple of sims. Oh, fucking nailed those spots. Awesome.
Yeah.
But then if you lose, oh man, it's so shit. And you're just God. And if you then you run those sims and it turns out you butchered the spots, you're like, this is toilet. I'm really the worst, and I'm supposed to be promoting a brand where I'm coaching as well. Oh my god. So I've got no itch for it. I might stream in again in the future, but no time soon. I just don't really enjoy it. I mean, more power to you for doing it, man. You seem to really love it. So,
but it's few and far between these days. The itch has kind of died, unfortunately. But who knows? It comes and goes. It's like a lot of things in life. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah. Oh, you're great. You're great to watch, man, and I love that you still bang out your like '90s classic ska rock music.
Whatever's in the playlist is just going to get played. Coming back to the questions we've got some questions from viewers. Now, this one might make sense to you, and it might be complete gibberish, but someone asked me to ask you, do you prefer being called Bigstealer or Bertrand Traore? Does that that make sense to you?
Well, my middle name is Bertram, and Bertie is a shortened version of that. So,
what's your first name?
Lawrence.
So what's your full name?
Lawrence Bertram Spencer Bayley.
Oh my god, the most Tory name I've ever heard in my life.
I think I'm probably more liberal than you imagine, actually. I definitely went to the boarding school kind of thing that you think you would hate. But yeah.
So do you know the person that asked that?
Huh?
I can find out who asked that if you want. Do you know that person? Does it ring a bell with you?
I don't know who would have asked that.
Let me find out who asked that. 1 second.
Yeah, I probably prefer Bigstealer, to be honest. If I'm completely honest with you, it was quite funny for a while. I don't know how many poker stops you've been to, but Blackout just said something quite funny when I played in this. I played in this live event in the Bahamas, party poker event.
Okay.
And I was put down as Lawrence Bertram Bayley as my as my thing, and my seat had been chosen, and I was put in between these 3 English live regs, who were not very good.
Probably Blackout High Stakes, who is an English live reg for what it's worth.
It wasn't him. Oh, I know what Blackout High Stakes is Lewis Spencer, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know what he like. Yeah. Yeah, it was these 2 like proper. Well, I'm going to say they're tourists because either they were literally tourists and were playing poker, or they were just people who were poker players but shouldn't really have been there.
Okay.
Because they were definitely giving money back.
Any names that you can tell us?
No. As in, I don't have a clue who they were. They were like these, like probably I want to say like 37-year-old woman who was like obviously been told she was good by somebody, but she was shite. And then there's this like obese bloke who was mates with her, and yeah, they probably just like played at the Vic a bunch and won a satellite or something. I don't know. Anyway, the point was my name. I'd been given a seat and I hadn't gone to the seat immediately, so my tag or whatever had been put in front of these chips, and I arrived, and this girl was looking at my tag and go. Just as I walk on, and had it in her hand. So I sit down at the seat and my tag's not in front of it, but she has it in her hand. She went, "Oh, someone went to a posh school," and I was like, "For fuck's sake!" I mean, I just didn't really know how to handle it. I was like, "Yep, guess I was quite fortunate." I mean, how do you answer that? It's not like I didn't like demand to go to a boarding school. I just ended up there, right?
It's not your fault, you know. I don't know. Fuck off and stuck a couple of times.
Yeah.
What a bitch, eh?
Yeah, I know, right?
Let's move on. Any degen stories for the boys and girls?
I know what you want me to say.
Well, you can say it if you want to. You ever bet someone a silly prop bet?
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
Do you want to go into some details?
Well, this was in the height of the China Day, so this is what I'm talking about when I said that the money didn't stay in the bankroll.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so we were all having a brunch at Brickwood, I believe, in Clapham.
Yeah.
This was the first time I met you as well, wasn't it?
First time, yeah. Me, you, I think Jack the Ripper was there. Was he there?
Stevie was there. Yeah.
Bad beat. Just the usual brunch boys.
Yeah, but I just overheard. So there's a bit of context to this. I played a lot of football with Ben Raven. He's a goalie, very good shot stopper, but distribution wise.
Oh really? Well,
not so amazing.
He makes up for his great shot stopping, but anyway.
Yeah. So he basically, I reckon it's one elaborate hustle. But I overheard him and Stevie talking about how. Because Stevie's a fucking genius at football. He's really fantastic. Like, whatever game he plays, he's very, very good at. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about kippy ups, and Stevie was talking about how he used to be able to do a bunch, and Ben was like, "Yeah, I think I used to be able to do 100. I think I could probably do that now." And Stevie was SMB, Poker Pro.
For the Americans that are watching, can you tell them what a kippy up is?
Oh yeah, sorry. It's literally just kicking the ball in the air and making sure it doesn't bounce. So you're just trying to keep kicking it up in the air.
100 in a row, essentially.
And they did it within earshot of me, and I just went, "Fuck off! You could never do that." And then we ended up dictating terms that in the hours of daylight the next day, Ben couldn't do 100 in a row, and so he got to start at 8 o'clock and got to finish at like 7 p.m. the next day, and then at 8:45 in the morning, I got a video of him doing it, and I was just like, "This is like the most ridiculous hustle," because he's so mal coordinated. And yeah, he just bangs it out, and I'm just like, okay, well, here you go. Here's $1,500. Yep, you well done. Couldn't believe it.
That's a month's wages to some people, just in the bin. That's a month's wages to some people, just in the bin. Right there. Any other crazy prop bets?
At the time, it was about an hour's work because I was on such a heater. I thought it was just fucking easy, and then I got absolutely drilled by the games afterwards.
Woke up to the bad news. What about, have you done any more silly prop bets over the years? Have you ever been to Vegas and got shit-faced and lost 20k playing blackjack, anything like that?
No. So, actually, when I was a child... Was it when I was a child? No. So, when I was a child, I basically had it drilled into me that gambling was the devil. Really? Because my dad's best man, he went and lost all of his... family savings on horses. So we, as a family, have been really against gambling growing up. Okay. So you can imagine my parents' horror when they found out that I was moving into poker for a living. But I had to show So I got into poker at uni and was playing these low stakes sit and goes. But back then in 2010, it might have been 2009 back then. Mm-hmm. I left uni in 2010 in my final year. And it was just basically so easy. I was playing $6 to $25 games and just went straight up money over an 8-month period of like $18,000, which as a student was bananas. And obviously no tax as well. So when my parents did find out, they were furious. But I showed them the graph, and that was quite reassuring to my mum because the line of best fit was just so close to what actually had happened. Mm-hmm. And I said, can I give this a crack for the next year? If I make enough money to save up to live in London and travel, you give me a chance to do it for a living, and that's how I ended up getting there. So my parents have been super against gambling, but I think inherently just hate things that are out of my control. Okay. So I don't get any joy from winning a hand of blackjack. I have played blackjack when with my ex-girlfriend. We were in Barcelona. She was Swedish, and she is Swedish, excuse me. She loves a gamble, and I gave her €50. I had €50, and genuinely within seconds that €50 was gone. And I was just like, you are either extremely unlucky or extremely garbage, or maybe both. I don't know. Anyway, I managed to somehow. I was shitted, like absolutely wrecked. Somehow managed to get up to €80, and then we took it over to the roulette table, and she got up to €125. So we were net 25, and I said, "That's it. We're out of here. It's not going up from here." And I just completely ruined her evening because I was just so risk averse and just hated it. So I didn't have any fun from it. Like, she enjoyed the brief time that we were gambling, but she definitely could have had more fun. And I was but I just completely slammed the hammer down on the gambling continuing, because I just don't take any joy from winning without any work going into it, or just from blind luck. Some people really get that dopamine rush, but I think when you're exposed to the ability to win like we do, it's just really, really unrewarding. But I don't know. Like, you yourself, you're privy to a little splash, aren't you?
I was just going to say, maybe I'll take you to Vegas and show you my crap system, but maybe you're not the kind of guy that wants to see that. It's foolproof. You cannot lose. Shout out to Poker with Risk, aka Ryan Risk, in the chat.
Ryan Risk, yeah.
You got to say nice things about Ryan. He's my buddy.
Ryan
Risk, hot or not? Say hot.
He is gorgeous.
He is a good-looking boy.
He is a good-looking boy. I tell you the only thing that looks better than Ryan Risk's face is the graphs he posts on Twitter.
Do you ever notice they only post winning graphs, though?
I did notice that, except for... But then I noticed one graph was losing, because he was keeping it real. Classic Ryan.
Probably because he had one fucking losing day in his life. Riera says, Gazzy sweating in the seat. Absolutely. I love that fucking blackjack story. And oh, God. Guess what? I'm going to go to the casino after this and get my...
You going down to the Hippodrome now?
No, absolutely not.
I'll come with you, mate. I'll come with you and I'll watch.
You pull me out after I win 25 quid. Let's see what else we've got. Let's talk some miscellaneous stuff away from poker. Quite into fitness. Obviously, you're at your CrossFit. You got any fitness goals, like running a marathon or anything like that?
No, there's no marathon stuff. It's only, I mean, they've got something called the CrossFit Open coming up in 6 days, which is a global competition. And yeah, I'm just trying to. So one of the things that drags me towards the CrossFit stuff is because, like, in the end, I like being fit, but obviously, I'm choosing a certain niche to go into to keep that going. But I really, really enjoy being able to do stuff that I couldn't do before, because one of my, I don't like to say mantra because I don't like people, I don't like the idea of mantras, but one of the things I try and abide by is I try to look back at my life, or me 6 months ago, and say, right, am I improved on what I was? And like 6 months ago, I couldn't, for instance, do a handstand push-up. And that's something that I think is quite cool that I could do. And now, and also I can do these other movements like bar muscle up. There's a lot of gymnastic stuff that I'm better at now. So whilst getting fitter, I'm able to do more things. Now, I also mentioned all the other things that people could do to be better. Like you could become like really into tennis and like be fucking sick, like really develop your backhand, or become really, really good at half volleys or whatnot. And that's something you can really develop. And you can, again, look back a few months later and be like, okay, well, these are the skills I've added. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. Yes, it's nice that I can row on a rower for a certain amount of time and retain the same speed, but it's the skills that I'm layering up that I get the most satisfaction from.
I think Chiasparus wants you to do a handstand push-up in that space behind you, because he apparently calls your bluff there. So whenever you're ready, bud.
I have a gin and tonic, and no, I will not.
And also Ryan Risk is asking you to do it shirtless.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to do anything for the. I'm not doing handstand push-ups here.
No worries. Because you're not, I won't do any either. We've given some nice shout outs to my boy Martin C. Speak to him every day. Absolute legend. He's asked an important question. Obviously, Martin and you used to grind together on Party Poker. Not sure if you knew that, but do you think Party's rigged?
No, but, I mean, I couldn't say that, but I would say that there was. I mean,
some shit going on, right?
I don't want to sound like I was running bad, but like I definitely felt like the third nuts seemed to run into the second or nuts a lot. But also there was a thing about the button. I heard in Fast Forward, there was a thing about if you played more than one table, you didn't get the button as much, and that was pretty fucked up because they didn't deny it either. They let it happen, and that was messed up. I'm really, really, really glad that really glad that they cut off the leaderboard stuff, because it was such an unrewarding and unhappy grind. So I decided to. As soon as they started cutting back, I thought I genuinely hoped they keep cutting back, because that means I can just do something else. Because at the time it looked so lucrative that you just had to play. There were definitely times where your hourly was monstrous.
Okay.
You were making like 130% rate back. So you didn't need to win.
That's insane. And I guess the question I'm going to ask you ties in nicely with somebody who asked why you transitioned from tournaments to cash. Obviously, you said earlier that gave you more freedom. I assume if you're grinding leaderboards, then that sort of takes away from that freedom that cash gives you.
100%. That was it. Also, kind of ironically, I moved house in the middle of doing the leaderboard grind, just as we were going into quite a heavy lockdown because it was at the start of the pandemic. And everybody was working from home except me, because we didn't have internet in our new place, but our leases overlapped at our old place, and that still had internet. So I was the only person commuting in the whole of London, going back to my old house to play poker, an empty house, and just having a miserable time, just playing loads and loads of hands against Martin and Ishtar and fucking Lotto.
Jason Mack as well.
Sorry?
And Jason Mack, I heard he's just unbeatable on Party.
Was there as well. Yeah.
So let me get this straight. You played poker from home, and it took a national pandemic and a lockdown for you to have to travel to work.
Yeah.
Kind of fucked up in a way.
I know, right? It was mad. Yeah.
Very nice. Let's talk crypto. You say you're a bit of a nit. You got a percentage? You got any coins that not a lot of people have invested in, hoping that it pops off, anything like that?
I used to have a bunch of. I used to try and hedge crypto with a bit of Ripple,
Okay.
but I decided to sell that. I used to have some. I actually have somewhere in the universe. I have a bunch of Quantum, but I lost the keys to that.
Hang on.
And it fucking rocketed for a while, but it is crashed back down again. Thank God.
Okay. Oh.
But I was genuinely like, oh no, what have I done? But, yeah, I have a bunch of Bitcoin. Well, a bunch of Bitcoin. I have a reasonable amount of Bitcoin. I have a bunch of Ethereum. So
yeah,
it's a nice amount that I'm very happy that I have it, but. Okay. Also, when I invested, I was prepared to lose it. I mean, I got into Ethereum when it was $75, so I was pretty. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But I know people who got in when it was $3, so it kind of everything's put in perspective. Like when we got into poker, when did you start playing, by the way?
Professionally, 2014.
Okay.
I was a fifth for a little while.
All right, so I've been. Oh, you were just playing for fun for a while.
Yeah, there was an overlap where I was a fish and a professional, but yeah.
And when did that finish? Was that last week or something? No, but I stopped. Yeah, I mean, I got in 2009, 2010, but professionally 2010. I always look back thinking, fuck, if I'd have got in 5 years earlier, I would be fucking making money. But at the same time, if I'd got in later, I would probably have struggled. I mean, I certainly wouldn't have been able to grind up a roll from sit and go so easily. So I definitely got in at a good time, but at the same time, this crosses over to crypto. Got in at Ethereum early, $75 was sick, but I mean, the fact that I know some really withered sit and go regs who are fucking millionaires because they got into Ethereum.
Right? Oh, it's painful. I remember one of my first WSOPs I went to, my buddy Adam Swan, who's a live reg from America. Shout out Adam if you're watching. He was sitting at his desk and he was like, oh, my Ethereum's gone up. And I was like, what's Ethereum? And he was like, oh, it's this, thing. And he explained it to me and it was like, it's worth $50 right now. You should invest. And I was like, Adam, come on, save your money. And I just wish I'd been like, yeah, okay, let's put a couple of $1,000 into it or whatever. And I looked at that with the disdain that I now look at NFTs with. So maybe I should sort myself out and buy a couple of fucking JPEGs of some monkeys or something.
Yeah, I find that. So the thing is with crypto, I find, and for those watching, I don't know a whole lot about crypto.
Okay.
But the thing is, I can kind of see the value in crypto because you're just there like, okay, well, this is obviously just an alternative store of value in a lot of situations. And also and if you're just going to the bare bones, there's a bunch of countries which have really unstable currencies. And this is obviously not the primary function of crypto, by the way. I understand this. But if you're just going to speak about what could be valuable about crypto, then you have places like Venezuela and Zimbabwe, which have hyperinflation. And if people want to send money to each other, then they can do it that way. So that's obviously got a functionality. I do not see the value in something that's got 12 pixels and looks vaguely like a person, and people are spending $400K buying it. I just don't know. I just don't see it. But
completely,
I need to research it because I feel stupid not understanding why people are spending all this money.
My buddy Smith, he's very much into it, and he's trying to tell us, we should get into it, etc.
Yeah, it's a bunch of questions. There's a real tangent in the chat.
Let's wind down with some questions from the chat now. You pick and choose what you want to answer.
I'm just having a look. How do you handle multi-tabling, and what advice would you give to people who struggle with it? So I wouldn't describe it as something I handle. I'd say it's something that I've trained and adapted. So you'd start playing, and Pads talks about this a bit as well. Patrick Leonard, sorry, starts talking about this as well. You should start with something you're comfortable with. So you could already be able to deal with 2 or 3 tables, or you might only be able to deal with 1. And once you're comfortable with making those decisions there, then you add another, and don't push yourself beyond a limit, or even add tables because you're tilted. You have to be really objective. A lot of poker is about remaining objective. One of the most important quotes I ever heard was from Jungle Man. Somebody asked because Jungle Man is really funny to watch because he rages, right? You've probably seen him live. And he just really rages. He says some shit he loses a hand and goes, and then he goes so fucking mad. And then somebody said, but you tilt, and he's like, no, I don't tilt. And I'm like, well, how do you get angry but not tilt? And he's like, because emotions don't change facts.
Oh, wow.
And that's so fucking important. because like he is treating the game objectively, but also like not liking losing.
Yeah.
Which is really, really reasonable. But people find it very hard to separate the two. So
Yeah.
always focus on the facts. Try and remain objective. So if you objectively feel like you're playing worse because you've added like 4 tables, cut down to 3, cut down to 2 until you're trained to be good at those 2, and then you can add a 3rd or a 4th. So that's how I would say that. I wouldn't say it's a handling issue. It's just about finding your optimum. Sorry. Yeah.
I think that's good advice. I think a lot of people play too many tables and it hurts them. So guys, if you're playing too many tables, cut some down. Ryan Risk asking, where is it gone?
Oh, I see it. It's just it's Stars and ACR are my 2 primary, but then I also play Party as well. Ryan. Yeah.
Are you done with the apps and the China and stuff like that, or do you still dabble in
No, I don't touch that anymore. That's again, that's a mindset thing. I found myself when you're worrying about, okay, is this game legit? Are these people cheating? And again, this is something that probably is going to become more prevalent in mainstream sites as well. Hopefully not Stars, because they have very good security. But if you're worrying about people using RTA, and by the way, I have like spotted a couple of rogues who suddenly are crushing on Stars. So
oh, really?
I'm definitely going to report a couple of them. But if you're worrying about that, then you're looking for things that aren't necessarily relevant to the facts that are placed in front of you, and that's really, really important to your win rate. If you're suddenly like, oh, that's not a sizing he would usually use, is it because it's RTA? But realistically, it's more a case of, well, this guy size because he's using a smaller size in this instance because actually he's not really sure what to do with the strength of his weakish hand.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not worried about your MDF,
minimum defense
frequency. Sorry, I have realised the platform we're on. Then you're getting distracted, and then you're going to be losing EV. Even more EV if they're using RTA as well. But yeah, you've got to be really, really careful about the games you're playing in. But like, that shouldn't be your primary worry, and that's why I stay massively away from those China games.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Any more questions you want to pick up from the chat before we shut the thing?
Charity for the shit to come off. Shut up. How many more G&Ts? I will have another one after this, but probably not for this call.
You've earned it, my friend. You've earned it.
Thanks, dude. How do you deal with tilt? Do you struggle to get off when you're losing or try and win back? That's interesting, actually, and I do sometimes find myself trying to get through the row stucco, and also let's just say it's mainly when I'm on the cusp that I will. There are definitely times where I just come out of a session, I'm just like, yeah. But I did look through, and it's a thing that's just got like not plagued me through my career, because I don't think my decision making becomes significantly worse. But I have noticed that some of my longest sessions are losing sessions. I actually had a session with Elliot Rowe about this, and some of my biggest winning sessions are my shortest sessions. But he reasoned, and I agree with like 98% of what Elliot says. I think like he's a really, really good mindset guy, but he did say something that was a little too basic to be true. And he says that when you play your best, when you're winning loads, you're more likely to be playing your best.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, maybe, but like not always. And sometimes you're just running fucking hot. And sometimes when you're running fucking hot, you can make some very loose decisions. So you can get winners tilt too. I don't think it's necessarily like you are winning, therefore you're playing your best. I think it's like you've got to be fucking careful of your emotions when you're winning really well, a bit big as well. And also, if you're winning really big and then you lose 2 big pots, I think you're as fucked as if you started losing. I actually tend to start losing quite a lot of sessions. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's a weird trend, but I do seem to start a lot of sessions losing. Okay. And I mean, I'm a winning player. Fingers crossed. So I don't know. Like maybe it's the challenge put in front of me. I don't know, but it's weird. I can't say that winning in session equals playing better. There is for sure a correlation.
I think you're absolutely right.
What else is being said? There's a few things popping up. I am playing worse, adding a second one. Okay, Sucram still isn't responding to what I said. Favorite football team? I don't support a team really, but I really enjoy watching football. I'm a bit of a fantasy football person. Really, really enjoy that. Fucking hate Tottenham, mainly because I hate Arsenal as well, for the record. But it's mainly because Mourinho is at Tottenham. I find Mourinho so toxic.
Oh, I love Mourinho. He's absolutely fantastic.
Do you?
Yeah, my girlfriend's also a Tottenham fan.
He's been living off a reputation which is like 7 years old, and he's done nothing.
But he's still fucking class. I still love him. Just some of the shit he comes out with and stuff. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are obviously some great quotes, but I really, really find it tough for him, like, to swallow him saying when they win that he's brilliant, and then when he loses, it's the player's fault. And throwing his player under the bus is awful. I think it's another case. I find it very tough dealing with people who don't take responsibility.
I think his treatment of guys like Luke Shaw is pretty despicable, but for the most part, I absolutely love Mourinho. Would you like to tell the guys about the one and only time we played football and the destruction that lay before us?
Yeah.
It was annihilation, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was brilliant, and I actually fooled you into thinking I was fairly good at football as well, which was brilliant. I remember you saying on your stream. Yeah, you said on your stream that I was actually athletic or something. I was like,
fuck me, it's Ryan Giggs. You wouldn't think you were Ryan Giggs to look at you. You're up and down that wing. I just stood in the centre circle and played passes. Joe Johnson held the ball up top for us, and Bertie just ran up and down the wing, and we won like 14-0. They had to change the teams around halfway through. It was that fucking bad.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I really enjoyed that, actually.
We should play against him. We should get Ben to play as well. He's too busy climbing these days, but we should ask him.
Mate, I barely played recently because I've had a back problem.
Yeah.
So this is another thing, like, I've been working on, like, some skills that didn't involve back, but now that my back seems to have cleared up, I'll be really keen to play some Footy Addicts again. So yeah. Just seeing Ryan said that he should try and punt off a stack in the first 100 hands. Don't you do that already, Ryan?
Well, he runs so good that he ends up getting there, so it must be nice.
I remember Ryan got me for something like a 500 big blind pot flush over flush, and then I got a message from a friend saying, Ryan's put a hand on Instagram, and I'm like, yeah, of course he fucking has.
That's so Ryan, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so fucking Ryan.
Anything else you want to address in the chat?
Sorry?
Anything else you want to address in the chat before we tap the table?
Let's have a look.
See, get your questions in now, boys and girls.
Yeah, guys, if you have anything else. Cheers, Martin, by the way. Martin's just gone, but yeah, that's, yeah. I think Ryan's just reacted. Yeah, man, I'm good. I had a really good time.
I did as well. Big shout out to my man Bertie, aka Bigstealer, for joining, and thank you very much to those in the chat.
Factory wants to know midstakes power rankings. We've already done this. We talked about it was good.
Should we have a wee look and see the 500 Zoom pool one last time, see if there's anyone else in there?
Yeah, okay. Let's just see if there's anyone who's crept in.
Mance Raider.
Don't hate me 89. Don't hate me 89. There we go.
Shout out to Don't Hate Me 89, aka. Are we allowed to say real names?
Yeah, everyone knows. She streams, bro.
Is she famous?
She's so famous.
Really?
Carlotta Cacatelli.
Famouser than Gazzy V123?
Close.
Oh, okay. I've met my maps down in that case.
Yeah. And then, real Matt Roberts here? No, he's not. Sir Max is here. Yes, he's here. Great. I'm just looking through the viewership now. Welsh Gaz is here.
Shout out to Welsh Gaz, he's my boy. Don't say anything mean about Welsh Gaz, he's my boy.
Yeah, I've not got anything to say, mate. Not got anything to say at all.
Me, you, and Welsh Gaz should get together sometime and do some drugs. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of which,
interesting fact about me: I can't do stimulants because I have a very mild kidney condition. So mild that it's hereditary, and my parents didn't realise they had it. But if I was to have a stimulant of like cocaine or ecstasy or MDMA, it would scar my kidneys. So there we go.
Well, Gaz will do yours for you. Quick question: are you going to Vegas this summer? Are you going to play the main? You want to swap 1% with your pal Gazzy B?
I am. What did you say?
I said you want to swap 1% with your pal Gazzy B.
If I have to go to Vegas and swap 1%, I won't go to Vegas, but I might go to Vegas if I don't have to swap 1%.
I'll give you 7% for your 1%. I think that makes it a little more fair. How does that sound?
Very tempting. Mate, I honestly don't know. Maybe. Yeah. I don't love Vegas that much. I find it very hard to be in Vegas working. I had a really, really good time on a stag do there. And then some people were like, "Are you going to play poker?" I'm no. I'd rather die in a grease fight. It's just like so unappealing. I actually have a pretty good stag do story, not from Vegas, by the way. If you want to hear it,
go for it. Absolutely.
Okay, so we went to Vegas, 20 guys, which is a fucking financial disaster. We had to like buy tables in order to get into clubs.
Yeah.
So we had to like down payment like I want to say like 4K each night. Anyway, about a month later, we went to Iceland, Reykjavik, for another stag do, and none of us paid attention to what the exchange rate was. But one of our friends who graduated from Cambridge, he confidently said he knew, and we were like, okay, that's great. Anyway, we ended up going to this nightclub, and we looked at the drinks menu, and he was like, guys, the vodka here is only 90 quid a bottle. And we're like, oh, sweet, cool. And then he's like, this one, the massive one, is only 150 quid. I'm like, cool. So we bought 10 bottles of the 90.
No.
And I bought another one of the 150. He was off by a factor of 10. So it ended up spending over like almost 11K.
Oh my God.
We spent more in that night in Reykjavik than we did on a stag do in Vegas. 20 blokes, and there was 12 guys in Iceland.
All because one fucking Cambridge graduate couldn't get his fucking maths
Absolute
down.
cock end, yeah.
I should have said you cut him out.
Such conviction that we're like, well, of course he knows.
Yeah, of course he does.
Yeah.
You say anything with confidence, people will fucking believe it. I bet you don't have a fucking clue.
Exactly. And that's why when I streamed, if I said things with enough confidence, people might have believed me. But
that's exactly it. Yeah, when I coach, if I say things with enough confidence, they believe me. Just kidding, obviously, for any student/Upswing members that are watching. Right, let's tap the table for the evening. Thank you so much for joining, Bertie. Have you had a good time?
I've had a great time. Thanks very much for asking me, mate.
You're more than welcome. Guys and girls, thank you very much for joining. We'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.